This is Hilda, which you might know if you've watched this channel for a while. Hilda is my Hillman Imp. 1973 Hillman Imp, fairly heavily modified. It has a Saxo VTR engine in the back. Hilda is also the bane of my life, and I was supposed to take Hilda to Rustival 2, actually, a few days ago. It's now the Wednesday, and Rustival 2 was on the Saturday. And the plan was to take Hilda, and I told everyone this, or anyone who asked. I said I was probably going to take Hilda. But as anyone who went to Rustival 2 will tell you, if they paid attention, which they might not have, but if they did, they would know this wasn't there. And I instead took, I took a Peugeot 106, just a basic Peugeot 106, called Dump It, which is the best car in the world. And it wasn't Hilda. So why is that? Well, so the last few weeks have been pretty fraught. It is a very busy time of year. So I knew that August was busy. I got an itchy nose as soon as I started doing this. I knew that August was busy. I knew that September was busy. And I knew that October is going to be busy. So I've been trying to kind of limit the things I'm doing because I am drowning, basically, in things I have to do. I run my own business. I am drowning in work, which is not a bad position to be in for a lot of people, but there's a balance. Sometimes not having enough work is as bad as having too much. And I am very much in that latter category at the moment. So I've been streamlining what I'm doing and cutting back on things. But the last few weeks, I have really been over pushing Hilda. Because Hilda has been off the road for, probably a good 4 years, really. It's not been properly on the road. It's covered about over 2,700 miles now since the conversion was done. And for the first 2,500, aside from the initial 200 miles of that where the clutch, didn't work. Apart from that, it's been pretty good. But I've since tried to improve it and modify it and kind of evolve it and things like that. And there are so many little variables within that we're now in a bit of, we're basically in a bit of a mess. We don't know exactly what's happening. What I can tell you at the moment, I can do better than that. I can explain. So, last few weeks, hammering on Hilda. I've done tons of work on Hilda. I'll show you. I'll show you some of the work I've done on Hilda before I tell you what happened. So on Hilda, the carpet is all in and trimmed, although that glue looks way worse there than it does in real life. Oh no, it is. It is bad. Good. That's excellent. It's all in and trimmed. The seat belts are all fitted. The dash, there is a temporary thing here. The hazards are in and they're working. The washer pump doesn't work, but it's basically working. It's a usable car. Also, I was very pleased with this. I was very pleased with this. See this? Do you like my suitcase, my vintage suitcase? Sitting in the boot there. The boot is not carpeted. That was one thing I never actually got done. Vintage suitcase. Behold. Because that one's broken, so I can undo that. Pop the latch on the suitcase. Oh look, it's where the engine is! Took ages to do this, to get this the right shape. That's how you access the top of the engine. But it's hidden in this funky suitcase, which goes there. And that's a genuine look. I like that. New Zealand. So I spent ages doing that. And I have improved. There you go. I have improved the noise. It's nowhere near as loud as it used to be in there. It's still horrible. Don't get me wrong, it's still appalling, but it's a lot better than it used to be. It used to be about 85 decibels on the motorway. And now, I don't know what it is. It's probably still 82 or something like that. But it's manageable. it's not quite as bad as it was. Oh, look, there's Professor Tomato. Sorry, JM. It's still here. Yeah, it's better than it was. And the plan was, I did loads of work on the brakes to try and get them to stop vibrating, because long story, there's alignment problems. Do you know, I've forgotten what I did on it. I did so much on this car. I had a big list, and I was trying to squeeze it in among customers' cars, and it damn near killed me trying to do it. Rustival 2 was the deadline. And what happened was, trying not to get too ragey and film on the spot, but yeah, Hilda's broken down again, and I've had enough. That's it, it's going. I've had a gutful on this car. You just can't drive it. So it used to work fine, and now it doesn't. Yeah, it's overheated, and because I haven't got the Evans in it anymore, it's actually overheated. Suddenly started getting really hot in the cooling system. The engine was getting hot, the radiator's full of air by the sound of it, so brilliant. Not having a good night. The engine seems to have overheated. There's not a lot of coolant in it. I changed the coolant recently. There is a very, very slim possibility that I thought I'd bled it in. It's an absolute pig to bleed in, and I thought I had bled it in, but there is a chance that it wasn't. I can't be sure. I mean, it must have been bled in, because, you know, it took ages to get the coolant to go through the heater. But for whatever reason, it's run low on coolant, and it's overheated. I'm not in a good way at the moment, if I'm honest with you. I felt a lot better than this. I can't put myself in the centre of the screen either, just to add insult to injury. Stupidly, I've set off without any bottles, any tools, nothing. Absolutely nothing. For some reason I drove up this end of the woods. I don't know why I've driven down here, where I am, because it's just crap round here, and the roadworks had the road shut that I needed to get back on the way on the test drive. I haven't driven this car for so long. I was supposed to be driving this to Rustival in 2 days, and I haven't driven this thing for so long that I just wanted to drive it and get some mileage in it. And I've spent so long working on it this week and last week, and having to, like, completely neglect other areas of my life, my business and everything. And for what? I've had enough. The stupid thing is, when this car first went together, I know it's a highly modified car, I'm not an idiot, but when it first went together, it did actually work fine. And then I've tried to modify it and improve it, and then trying to improve it, everything's just got worse. And it doesn't make any sense. I think I've had enough of it. I think I have had enough of it. But the problem I've got now is, because it's now broken, it's not worth much. And because it's not worth much, I've basically just lost a ton of money, because I haven't got the time or the inclination to try fixing it again. I have other things I want to do. I have other things I need to do. So I don't have the time or inclination to fix it. So yeah, I mean, what do? Break it? Break it for parts? I've only just bought a load of parts that have been fitted to it. I've literally fitted some parts today. It's just, oh god, the amount of money I'm losing on this. But it's just, I can't deal with it. I can't handle it. If it worked properly, like it used to, it did work well for a while, then I'd drive it to Rustival and I'd probably enjoy it, even though it's horrible on the road. Absolutely horrible. Can you see I've had to wedge up there? I've had to wedge one of the panels that goes in the bottom of the rear bins either side of the seat, and the hatch stayed because it was vibrating so badly. I can't. I wish I could sign off with a great, you know, like a cool ending or something, but I can't. I can't. I'm just gonna sit in this bloody car park, hoping it's open. I hope it doesn't shut. I don't think it does, but yeah. And await rescue. Well, my wife's going to head up here in the Daihatsu with some water, so I can try topping it up with some water to limp it down to a garage to try making sure it's fully bled in, but it's misfiring. It's got bloody hot, it's misfiring, it's not happy, and there's no direct route back from here to the workshop because they've shut the bloody road. So you have to go either on the motorway, you literally have to go on the motorway, or up in the countryside, out in the sticks. That's the only two options. Or even further away. So it's ridiculous. I'm screwed. Probably have to dump this somewhere, go back to the unit, dump it, and then try and tow this with dump it back to the unit, but that's going to be hell as well. I'm going, yeah, sorry, there's no good outcome to this. It's just complete shite, basically. Abject shite. Why do I bother doing it? I don't even want to go to Rustival now. I was zooming an hour in anyway, but now I really don't want to. Yeah, that's it. That's all there is. And so managed to get it back to the unit. Just made it back. I don't know what is wrong with it, but I'm going to take a stab in the dark. That's quite a lot, because... So you know, way back when I thought the head gasket had gone, and then I said, oh no, I don't think it is. I changed the water pump there, and well, it looks like it has. Great. So as things stand at the moment, this is the end of Hilda for me, because I've had enough. I have a car over there, which is my dream car, which I don't get anywhere near because I've got so many other things to do. And the one time I want to use this thing, it just, yeah, it can work fine 1 minute and then the next minute just be trouble. So I've had enough of it, frankly. Nothing is worth this much stress. I should think that Hilda will not be worth a lot as a broken car. So it will probably be broken for parts. I think it will just have to be broken up and try and recover as much as I can back. But God, there's not much of it. I've put so much work into this car recently, again, and it's just misplaced. It was a waste of time. I should just stick to what I know, stuff like that. Right, that'll do. Yeah, so that happened. Basically, I hadn't driven the car properly since... Well, last time I drove this car on video, it had a bad misfire. People who follow this channel properly will know, or perhaps will remember that it had a dodgy misfire. I found that dodgy misfire. I know what it was. It was actually the TDC sensor. For some reason, it was... Although it was close enough to the pulley, trigger wheel, on the crank, it was at a slightly different angle to what it used to be. So I changed the angle, played with it a bit, changed the clearances, sorted after that. There's a video on my TikTok of it spitting flames, but it actually was just misfiring. And now it revs cleanly. Well, it did. It did. It revved cleanly up to sort of 7,000 RPM. I was going to stick it back on the dyno and see if we could beat the 117, because she was flying. Absolutely flying, it was. So yeah, I had an issue with that. I had an issue with it running hot a little while ago. And in one of the videos I did, I think there was, why is Hilda overheating, or perhaps the one before that, was basically trying to suss out why it was overheating, why it wasn't running properly. Eventually found a technique of bleeding it that kind of sorted the problem, or, you know, it seemed to sort the problem. I couldn't get the air out of the system. It is a complicated cooling system, this car, because you've got a Saxo engine in the back, which is not designed to be in a rear engine car for a start. You've got a radiator at the front here, an MGF radiator, and then there are pipes going under the car. There's also a heater pipe running under the car as well. So the circuitry is totally different, but it did work. It did all work. It would sit there, it would get hot, the fans would cut in, it would bring it down, the fans would cut out. It was perfect. It was working really well. And the fans brought it down really fast as well. It wasn't even that it took ages. The fans cut in and it struggled and then, you know, no, it literally, you could see it go dink, 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 and out again. Got 2 coolant gauges in Hilda. One for the front, one for the back. So I have a temperature gauge at both ends of the car, so I can see if the engine suddenly goes really hot and the radiator goes cold, or vice versa. Yeah, so I had, with all this in mind, bearing in mind that this is YouTube and people will try and tell me I'm doing things wrong, but bear in mind, I know the car pretty well. I built it, and I know kind of how it's laid out and, you know, the ins and outs of it and everything like that. And I was happy that the cooling system was okay. I couldn't see any issue with it. Any further issue it would have to be something unrelated or something new. Well, potentially new, because what happened was, as you saw in that video, it overheated and I got very upset and wanted to... I had to bleep that out because I don't know if the YouTube algorithm computer gets confused, but I wanted to unalive my car. And the reason, I don't exactly know why it happened, but basically what I believe has happened is the car's overheated pretty significantly and is now running on 2 cylinders. It is not in a good way. The engine is pretty bad. If you start the engine cold and take the expansion cap off over there under the bonnet, as this is, it will throw coolant out. Coolant will gush out of the header tank. That's not good. That's a pretty bad sign. So I can only assume the engine is goosed. Now, is this an engine that was harbouring a problem way back from when it was in a Saxo? Don't forget, this thing's only done just under 3,000 miles in this car. The Saxo had done 120,000. So was the Saxo broken to start with? And, you know, I put a new head gasket and everything in it when it got put in this car. We did a light rebuild on it, valve stem seals, head gasket, everything like that. But perhaps there's something deeper going on. I don't know. Well, long and short of it is, the engine's bollocks. And I had to dump it to Rustival. That should have been in here. That should have been in there. That sums it up. It should have been in the car, but it wasn't. I had to dump it, and I had to do some very last minute thinking. I had to make some dump it information cards, although I was actually quite pleased with how they came out. I had to make my dump it information cards that lunchtime. I threw those together, but I was actually quite pleased how that came out. Explaining what dump it was and why I was getting so excited about a Peugeot 106. So I took dump it to Rustival, and a great time was had, because Rustival was great and dump it was great. But it was soured by the fact that it should have been this. And of course, it should have been this in Rustival 1 back in March. And it wasn't. It had to be the C6. And the C6, I've done it again. The C6 unalived after, well, like 2 weeks after Rustival, I think it was. And yeah, I mean, basically, I've just given up. And actually, that's not a joke. I actually kind of have given up. I'm struggling with this car. Basically, I don't have the time to have such a time-dependent project. I'll be completely transparent. I had a plan in my head. If Hilda didn't make it to Rustival for whatever reason, or didn't make it back, or, you know, never made it in the first place, never even attempted the journey because it was broken or wasn't ready or something like that, or broke down on the way or broke down on the way back or whatever, if it didn't make Rustival, Hilda was going to be sold. I'd had enough, because what is the point of having this thing if I can't drive it? If Hilda made Rustival, and a good time was had by all, then I would have kept Hilda, but probably sold it next year. I actually put a post up on the Hillman Imp group, Facebook page group thing, asking what people thought this car might be worth roughly. A difficult car to value, I know, but I had to weigh up. I need some money, I need some income. And I was weighing up, is it worth selling it now? If they turn around and said, oh, it's worth about 3p, then, well, okay, well, there's no point selling it. I'll have to do something else. But if they turn around and said, oh, no, it's worth quite a bit of money, maybe I should move it on. And, I mean, I didn't really get any conclusive figures, to be honest, because it's a pretty difficult car to value. But it's a completely irrelevant point now, because it's broken. So in a broken state, it's probably worth very little. I considered breaking the car for spares. That's how angry I am with this car, and how done with this car I am. I seriously considered breaking it for spares. And I promise you, if I could get the money back for the car that I want, if I could get the money out of the car that I need to get out of it, I would break it for spares. I'm not emotionally attached anymore. I've had a gutful. Genuinely had a gutful. It's a very fun car. Don't get me wrong, it's huge fun. When it works, it's brilliant fun. But I'm sick of it. It's so difficult to keep the thing happy. Like, if you change one, I mean, it is a project car. It's my own fault. It's not the car's fault. It's a project car. Project cars are never finished. And I've built this thing, designed it, and of course, I'm having to engineer it on the fly. I'm having to drive the thing and then find out what's not right and then make adjustments and things. It's an ongoing process. Someone who loves tinkering, loves designing things and making things and then driving them and testing it, you know, they love this. I don't. I've got an SM. I want to do the SM. But I can't, because I'm still stuck doing stuff like this. For such a small car, it is so labour intensive. And I love the thing. No, I don't. That's a lie. But the memories are going to be better than the car is at the moment, because it's just killing me. I've done it again. I'm not gonna, sorry, algorithm, figure it out, you know? Yeah, it's just too much. It's too much stress. It could have been a great time at Rustival with this car. I mean, don't get me wrong, it would have been an awful journey. Oh, it would have been horrible. Terrible journey. But I think it would have been fun. And Rustival was fun, but I didn't take the car I was supposed to take. So there we go. I didn't take Hilda because Hilda broke and is now on 2 cylinders. I think it's a 2CV. And I don't know what to do with it. Answers on a postcard? What do you think? It's quite a small car. There is a gap in the workshop that I'm thinking if I could clear that gap up. I mean, I don't have time to keep the rest of it tidy, so why the hell would I have time to clear this gap? But it's such a small car, it might fit in there. And I should probably just throw a cover over it before I do something I might regret. Yeah, just leave it and focus on other things. Because it is still mobile. It can be moved, it's not immobilised. If it comes to it, I can move the thing. So I think maybe that's what I'll do. Unless someone wants to buy it. If someone wants to buy it, crack on. But they won't. Because it's not worth much because it's broken. So I can't think of positive things to say. Rustival was great. Rustival was really good. Rustival 2 was really good. There was a brief fight on the stage between Practical Classics and Classics World. Check out the video I uploaded the other day. But I had a great time. Another good event. The first event had a better kind of novelty factor, but this one had a better selection of cars. It's so big. It's almost too much to do in a day. When you take into account the museum and everything as well, it is almost too much to do in a day. I thought it was. I mean, such a selection of cars. That Mayfair is huge. I didn't film any of it. I got like 1 or 2 little snippets I might put on TikTok or something, but I didn't get anything. So if I saw you there and I spoke to you, hello, I will probably forget you because I'm terrible with faces and things. But yeah, no, it was a good time. The highlight, or one of the highlights of that, was the fox auction. The little toy fox, Ed, bid £115 for a stuffed fox. Crazy bastard. But the money goes to Sophie's Legacy, and that is obviously a very, very, very worthwhile place to send £115. And I got to clean dump it. I even clean dump it before I took dump it to Rustival. I back to blacked dump it. I spent time making dump it pretty. So yeah, that's basically what happened. Test drove it on a Thursday before Rustival, 2 days before Rustival. Took it out on a test drive, and it overheated. Why is it overheated? That's a brilliant question. I don't know. I was driving down the road and the engine got hot and the radiator... Well, no, the engine didn't overheat. The engine never actually went above... On the gauge, it never went above 95. But on the radiator at the front, it dropped to 40, which is the lowest it will go on the gauge. So that went stone cold. And that got up into the 90s. And of course, I've taken the waterless coolant out of it. Brilliant. So if that was still in there, the engine wouldn't be lunched, basically. The engine would still be okay. But whatever caused the problem would still be there as well. It would just not have killed the engine in the first, as a result of it. So, but whatever. Yeah. So yeah, sorry, I can't think of anything positive really. It's yeah, dump it did well. Dump it did really well. Nope, that's it.